when people are assessed by other humans, it feels weird to all of us, right? But AI seems to be less offensive. And again, it helps you figure out what you don't know and then helps you understand it. Ultimately, patient is able to constantly keep you up at the top of your game. Great for the company, great for you. Everybody's happy, cost efficient, ever changing, ever updating itself. Huge.
Welcome to the Imagine AI podcast. I'm your host, Chris Madden, and today we have with us a very special guest, Dmitry Shapiro. Dmitry, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited to chat with you.
Yeah, me too. And just for all our listeners' knowledge, this is the first podcast we've done since the wrap of our inaugural event, Imagine AI Live in Las Vegas. It got rave reviews, and Dmitry was the second person on the stage, I believe. He gave a great presentation, and it is up on YouTube, so everyone should go and check that out. But I listened, and it's incredible what you're building. So why don't we start there, Dmitry? What are you building with MindStudio?
Yeah, and by the way, on YouTube, the video I think we published has over 10,000 views already.
Oh, wow. When I checked, it was 4,000, so nice.
Yeah, it's growing fast. Yeah, so MindStudio is a platform for, primarily focused towards enterprises, meaning organizations of any size, from SMBs to giant enterprises, that allows those organizations to basically do digital transformation, AI digital transformation of their operations, right? Every organization has its own set of the ways, workflows, so the ways that it operates. And MindStudio, once people learn to use it, actually just by watching a YouTube tutorial, they can instantly sort of look at their own enterprise and realize that there's a bunch of things that they're doing manually with humans that they could just automate. And they can create those automations like very, very quickly without writing any code. It's a no-code platform. And so they can take a bunch of their processes and automate them. After they've done that, whatever still has humans working, problems that require humans, MindStudio allows these enterprises to create these custom AI business applications to give to those humans in order for them to be much more productive at the job that they're doing. And then sort of the third thing that it's primarily being used for now is for those enterprises to create these specialized sort of conversational assistants, as we call them, sort of replacements for their employees using things like ChatGPT. And these specialized assistants, by the way, behind the scenes use models like GPT or Anthropic Claude or Meta, Mistral, Google, etc., or model-agnostic. We support all the models. But it allows them to create these specialized assistants for each employee or each job function. And those assistants know about the company, know about the job function that the employee is doing, and are just radically better at being able to serve as assistants to those employees, requiring less prompting, creating better results. And again, MindStudio is a platform that allows the enterprise to create all of those things and deploy them and manage them and do, all the enterprise-y things they need: user management, logging, compliance, business intelligence. So it's an AI enablement platform for enterprises. And today it has already over 40,000 of those AIs that have been built with it and deployed in, giant enterprises, government agencies, thousands of SMBs. So it's already quite, popular with over 40,000 of them out there.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, because when you gave the presentation about 3 weeks ago, it was 34,000 apps deployed.
Right. Yeah.
And now added in 3 weeks about 6,000 to that.
I'll look it up. It's probably more than that now. I'll tell you exactly. 46,759. So,
all right. Well, 12,000 apps deployed, added since the presentation you gave about 3 weeks ago in Las Vegas. It's growing fast. So, and just to be clear, this isn't a large language model. This isn't a new AI. You're building. It's an application layer on top of all of these AIs that people can create to use in their businesses.
That's right. It's model agnostic. Out of the box, there's no box, but right away, it allows you to, again, create these multi-step workflows using a no-code builder. And as part of these workflows, you can call any model. Right away, in just a drop-down, we support OpenAI models, Anthropic, Google, Meta, Mistral, but also you can write a custom JavaScript function to call any model. So a bunch of our customers are calling their own private clouds, or they're running inference on premise and are calling those models, or are using small models versus large language models. So it's completely model agnostic and supports, retrieval augmented generation. So we have a relationship with a company called Zillus that's got a vector database called Milvus. And so we make vectorization trivially easy. You can just upload reams and reams of data. We automatically take that and turn them into vector embeddings, put them in a vector database, and allow you to query that vector database as you're creating these workflows, allow you to call any custom functions, so call any external APIs of any other services to integrate it. And so all sort of a nice package that's really easy to learn, even for non-technical people to learn to do, and also very rapid in creating these things. That's why, another 12,000 have been created since you last saw me 3 weeks ago. It's because creating one of these things can be done in less than an afternoon, 15 minutes to a couple of hours typically.
Yeah. And I started playing around with your website. And just to be clear to all that, I am not a very technical person. I don't have a coding background or anything. And that's what really caught me off guard about your product, is that you're not doing anything for the customer. The customer is using all these tools and using your website, and you're providing it for them, and they're learning how to do it themselves. It's 100% self-service. If you could talk about that, please. For sure.
Yeah, look, it's completely self-service. We don't have a single salesperson in the company. People learn to use it by watching some YouTube tutorials and, create a free account and play around, and should be able to make your first AI, within 30 minutes after discovering MindStudio. Primary tutorial is 18 minutes. In 18 minutes, you should be able to grok how to use it and start building AIs. And another 2-hour recorded webinar, you can get the finer details and then sort of be a master of it. But also now we have, again, because there's so many enterprises using it, a whole sort of industry of agencies has already spun up.
People that have learned how to use MindStudio and they've become experts in it themselves, and now they're offering that service through their agency or through consulting.
Yeah, either brand new agencies, some have formed agencies because of MindStudio, but a bunch of them are existing agencies that do various types of IT integrations and sort of business process re-architecting and optimization and website building and custom app building and implementation of things like Notion or Asana and such. So all of those are agencies that are already helping these enterprises implement with MindStudio, sort of re-architect their business processes with MindStudio.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting that you kind of provided this open source tool for everybody. Let's just get through the pricing, because it is free to join and it's free to create an app and everything. And then how does your pricing model work?
Yeah, so we have today 2 tiers and soon 3 tiers. The first tier is completely free, where you can sign up for free and start using it. And we give you $5 of inference credit. And after you've spent that $5 of inference credit, if you want to keep sort of running it, then you got to put in your credit card. Then we charge you for usage. So when you're calling large language models, it costs us money and we pass those costs on to you. When you're calling vector databases, it costs us money. We pass those costs on to you. But you're on the free tier plus metered usage. Another tier we have is called Pro, where it's $49 per month per seat plus usage. That's if you want collaborative workspaces. It's for companies, for teams. And it gives you the ability to create headless AIs, so ones that are meant to be called via API. So no human interfaces, but to be part of other processes. So AI access to the API access to the AIs you create, and embedding in a bunch of other things that enterprises need. And that's in that $49 per month per user tier.
I always wonder about the amount of users, and for an enterprise or a business, how many people are going to be needing to be in MindStudio from a company working on these things or being able to collaborate on it?
It depends. There's a government agency right now that's using it that wants to license 65,000 seats.
Okay.
So they can be very large. There's another company that's got over 2,000 seats. So they can be quite large. It's whoever you want to be able to have access to the tools that you're building for them. And again, in many ways, in some organizations, this replaces existing sort of SaaS products that they're running, right? They might have a CRM system that they're using, and they only really need a few features of that CRM system, but they had to use this heavyweight CRM system. Well, now they can build AI-powered applications that have some CRM capabilities, but only the ones they need. And all of this other AI assistance, and that makes their workflow just that much sort of faster and more efficient. And so it can replace other software as well.
Yeah, definitely. You've gained 12,000. I mean, people have built 12,000 applications since the last time we talked. The company is booming in interest and attention, and people are using it. How do you feel right now as the CEO of the company?
Overwhelmed. Look, this is my third venture-backed company as a founder. I built a major competitor to YouTube from 2005 to 2010, raised $70 million. And so we were super high flying. I also built a venture-backed cybersecurity company called Iconic Systems in the past and raised $34 million for that. We had over 2 million deployed seats in enterprises of a perimeter security gateway that we built. So like I've done this before. Yeah, this one is much faster and much bigger in sort of its trajectory, primarily driven because of the great need out there for enterprises to figure out what they can do with AI, how to leverage AI in order to compete. And we are sort of very accessible solution to them that allows them to do AI right now and not wait for GPT-6 or 7, or not try to figure out, do I standardize on OpenAI or Anthropic, or not have to cobble together a bunch of these like vertical SaaS things, one AI thing for my sales team, another for my marketing, another for my operations, another one for writing, another one for image generation. This just says you get one platform, you get all the models, you get to create the workflow that works exactly for you, for your organization. It fits like a glove. You're in control. In a sense, any employee in your company can learn to use it and become the champion of digital transformation. We're trying to hire great people. So a bunch of my day is spent hiring, a bunch of my day is spent onboarding all these agencies that are now reaching out and saying, look, we've got a bunch of clients that are asking for MindStudio. How do we join your agency program? And we're like, well, we don't yet have an agency program, but I guess we got to make one. So that's what we're doing now. Part of it is spent sort of taking inbound thing from big enterprises that are reaching out saying, hey, love this product. Like, this is it. We want to use it. We want to standardize on it. Can somebody help us? And we're like, yeah, there's like a bunch of agencies out there, but now we have to like connect them together. So I'm playing like traffic cop. And my schedule is just literally all day long Zooms.
It sounds like all good problems to have as a CEO and challenges to overcome. Looking at all of these areas that MindStudio can help in sales, HR and recruiting, marketing, finance, IT, customer service, and all the different points within there, it is incredible. You said in your presentation that it most clearly helped sales and sales and marketing departments have jumped on it earliest. Can you give an example of how MindStudio can help the sales department?
Yeah. So sales, meaning on our website, on the homepage, there's like this like matrix that you were just reading from of these like different job functions that we see people creating AI business applications for. And they're sort of across every job function you can imagine inside of organizations. A common leader is sales because everybody is interested in driving revenue. And sales is an activity that requires a lot of moving pieces, getting leads, vetting those leads, figuring out which ones are worth pursuing, which ones aren't, going back and forth, trying to get more information from prospects, figuring out what salesperson should handle the lead, having salespeople communicate with prospects and answer their various questions and sort of lead them to the obvious answer of you should buy my product and all that stuff. There's a lot of work that needs to be done by salespeople. AI can sort of dramatically impact that process and make it much more efficient. For example, we see a bunch of AIs that are being built to be able to deal with sort of lead qualification. How do you take a bunch of things that come in from our website form where people are asking, I want to talk to a salesperson or get enterprise pricing or whatever. And how do we make sure that we focus on the right ones and route the right leads to the right salespeople who would best be able to address their needs, right? And so this is an intelligence process and just a lot of busy work. A bunch of these forms come in incomplete. AI can reach out and ask for more information and get that information, compile it, look at it, compare it to others, and again, figure out things that used to be done by a human. Now an AI can just do it completely autonomously. And so you get better qualified leads going to the right salespeople. The next thing AI is frequently used to do is to help the salesperson in the sales process. Again, the sales process is a collaborative process, right? Where salespeople talk to prospects. By the way, today, people may notice that a lot of these like transcribing assistants are joining our video calls, right? Firefly and Otter and like all of these other assistants that are transcribing a conversation. Well, you can set up AIs that watch that bucket of transcriptions and sort of pay attention to it from an AI standpoint and sort of like listen into the conversations between salespeople and prospects and help the salesperson realize that they're not hearing everything the prospect is saying, and therefore that they should understand this, like read between the lines, or that it's the opposite, that the salesperson is hearing that the prospect is ready to buy, but the AI is saying they haven't asked all of these key questions. They can't possibly be ready to buy. We should send them collateral about all of this. And then it can take and generate custom marketing collaterals for each prospect that a salesperson is dealing with. So a salesperson can send it to them. So like very powerful, intelligent assistance in making sales run more efficiently, because you want your salespeople talking to customers, not following up on stuff and writing emails and creating custom collaterals and answering all their questions. The AI can prepare all that. So the salesperson is just sort of a superhuman in being able to have these kinds of conversations.
That's incredible. And like help them with the prioritization of what they should be doing and should be thinking about and things that they could have missed. So you mentioned like Otter AI and these other services that people are paying subscriptions for to transcribe their meetings. And right now we could have something on that will be listening and transcribe this all for us and like summarize it. So are you saying that on MindStudio, somebody could just build that app for their business?
Yeah, you still need the transcription piece. Like MindStudio at this moment doesn't offer something that does transcribing, but you can take that transcription, which is just a text file, and transcription goes into some repository, right? And so you can create an AI in MindStudio that watches that repository. And whenever a new transcription shows up, it can grab it and process it and do something with it, create collaterals and whatever, and then put it as a draft in the inbox, for example, of the salesperson that's working on it. And so they just get a draft and they push send, or it can send things automatically. So again, these things can be turned into autonomous agents that can just be doing the work, and the salesperson sort of just watching, for example.
But the application still needs the transcription. Is there nothing in MindStudio that you can build the thing that listens to us?
Not directly today. Yeah, I mean, you need something that sort of shows up and logs into these conversations, live conversations. We just haven't built that. I mean, certainly we could, but today we don't. We allow you to take any data you have in your enterprise, which could be any type of file or any data lake or anything else that you can connect to, and then sort of use that data. But we don't sort of create that data.
Right. You need the original content. You need the data to feed all of these applications, right? That makes sense.
Yeah, in this case. Yeah.
That's a very clear use case for sales, marketing. I'm in marketing. All of this content that we're filming right now, it's going to be chopped up into nice, smaller parts and then put out, distributed to people, how we package it for people and the social media content that we make. What are people building in MindStudio for marketing?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of like workflow automation stuff, because again, to your point, content production is a workflow that you run and it's got a bunch of parts to it, and you can build AIs that handle certain parts of it. Content planners, sort of intelligent content planners that take a bunch of things into account. Content generation, if you're doing videos, a bunch of like script generation and creation of a bunch of collaterals, automatic generation of a bunch of videos, for cuts or other things that you might want to put in, B-roll, etc. But I think like the most interesting things are things that are custom generated content for each person.
Oh, right. No. I'm so glad that you're talking about this. So yeah, in your presentation, you talked about how that's kind of the future of marketing, is where like people, already these apps and social media platforms, they know who you are. They're giving you tailored ads, but it's going to be able to go one step further, where the company is going to be able to like tailor the ad specifically to you versus the next person that's scrolling on their feed.
Yeah, so there's the ad part of it, which is interesting. But I think there's one that's even more interesting, which is like fundamentally. Again, let's say that, you sell widgets, your company sells widgets. And widgets can do all kinds of things, right? And kind of many different types of people need widgets. And so marketing team goes through this process of trying to figure out the ICP, the ideal customer profile. And then out of that, they run an exercise to try to create these personas where they try to describe, that Bob is this type of a user and lives here and does this, and Sue is this type of a user, right? And then that's how marketing is done, is like, we're going to write content for Bob and we're going to write content for Sue. And on our website, we're going to have like a solutions tab. And in there is going to be a landing page for Bob and a landing page for Sue, right? And that's like state-of-the-art marketing today. Like if you're a really good marketer, you do that kind of segmentation and you create this content and you do it. The problem with that is like Bob doesn't exist and Sue doesn't exist. These are like crude caricatures that show up. What AI does is it says, well, let's not worry about caricatures and let's be able to engage like a human If it was a human that was sort of doing the responses on the website, the human would say, hi, I see you're interested in widgets. What do you do and why are you interested in widgets? And then the human would instantly say, okay, now I know where you're coming from. And so I can use words with you that are different than the words I'd use with somebody else that was coming from some other industry or some other place, right? And so a human can do it. Well, now an AI can do it. And so you get custom made on the fly sales materials, learning materials, sales collateral, support materials on the fly for every customer.
So that requires knowing who the customer is, like on the time they come to the website, right?
Yes, but you don't have to sort of know it off the bat, right? Just like in, again, regular websites today, you might have a bunch of buttons that says, if you're in automotive, you click here, and if you're in finance, you click here and you do that, right? Or again, simply come a sort of an onboarding form of a few questions.
Right.
Multiple choice, for example, pick your industry, pick your size, pick your whatever the dimensions are that are important to get started with. And in seconds, you give them a custom website, basically, that's specifically made for them. It's just a different way of thinking about creating content instead of just like hitting them with generic sales material. First, figure out who they are quickly, and then give them all the stuff that they want. And so it saves everybody time, makes everybody happy, because they're at your website trying to figure out what you do and how they can buy it. And so help them do that. And AI can do that now.
And I'm just thinking about like ChatGPT writing this cool thing for that specific user. And, there's not going to be a marketing person that needs to write that thing. It's going to be the AI that's writing that web page for.
And it doesn't just have to write it. People have sort of been conditioned by ChatGPT to believe that AI is this thing you chat with. It can look like normal websites. It can be text and images and videos and links and forms. AI can create those kinds of interfaces. When you're using MindStudio, you can create AIs that have those kinds of interfaces. And so it doesn't feel like a chatbot, because a chatbot's like kind of a pain in the butt, because especially when we're on mobile, we got to like chat with our thumbs. I just want to scroll and quickly find what I want. Yeah, but behind the scenes, it's all powered by AI.
Well, I'm enjoying this so much. I think we're on a roll here. I'd like to just continue down the three other segments that you have in your website. So we covered sales and marketing, that you're saying that people are kind of adapting, seeing the biggest payoff for right away. But let's go to HR and recruiting.
Yeah, so there are lots of enterprises using MindStudio that use it for HR, all kinds of functions in HR, including recruiting. So recruiting is a laborious effort that I'm going through right now, as I mentioned, that I'm spending a bunch of my time recruiting. And companies that are larger tend to get a tremendous amount of inbound solicitations from potential candidates. Typically, you'd have a human sort of looking at this inbox and trying to make assessments of which people are credible, which ones you want to sort of take through your recruiting funnel, and then sort of take them through that recruiting funnel. Well, now AI can take most of that work. It can watch the inbox. It can filter out all that aren't fit. It could take the rest that are fit and run them through self-assessments, where very quickly, in a sense, it's like an interview where you can quickly understand who they are, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and then find the ones that match criteria, and then sort of bubble them up to the top, take them to the front of the line. And again, sort of throughout the process, create assistive things, things that follow up, ask for more information, and do things like that. Beyond hiring, sort of in the same realm, we see a bunch of companies now building AI trainers, which are AIs that employees engage with on an ongoing basis, is like part of their work, because they need to engage in AI.
And onboarding, right?
Onboarding and beyond, yeah. Onboarding, sort of continuing education. Because remember, companies change constantly and their products change constantly. And like all employees need to be leveled up constantly. Well, you either need a team of people doing that kind of job internally, leveling up employees, or now you can create AIs that take a lot of that heavy lifting and free up people to do other things. So you can engage with an AI as a new employee or an ongoing employee periodically. And again, the AI tests your understanding of what's happening, not for the purpose of like to out you as being a bad employee, the opposite. Right? It's not a human. It's not going to judge you. It just wants to help you.
I can imagine it being the most polite way to nudge you into being a better employee.
Certainly.
And versus like some HR person that's like, you're kind of walking on eggshells. I'd much rather take my directives and my coaching from a very polite AI than somebody who's like my boss or something,
Totally. Yeah. When people are assessed by other humans, it feels weird to all of us, right? But AI seems to be less offensive. And again, it helps you figure out what you don't know and then helps you understand it. Ultimately, Patient is able to constantly keep you up at the top of your game. Great for the company, great for you. Everybody's happy, cost efficient, ever changing, ever updating itself. Huge.
All right. So that brings me to a question. How are you using MindStudio in your own company to try to streamline this recruiting challenge here?
Not much here. Because again, I think the size that we are, we do get a bunch of like candidates reaching out, like that part's sort of quick and easy to do. We could make an AI, it would be even better, but like haven't done that. There's not enough need here for that. Like, I think it's critically important. That's why I, CEO, am spending a bunch of my time doing it, to really spend the time with it. And so I want sort of less automation there and more face time in this case. But certainly if I was running some organization that had a bunch of bigger and had a greater need for this, like totally makes sense to do that.
How big is your company right now?
We are 21 people. Now we're hiring, so we'll probably get up to 30 in the next, quarter or two, but relatively small.
Great. Well, let's move on to finance. How can MindStudio's AI applications help in finance?
Yeah. So again, I would look at it let me frame it. I think finance is a broad, as any of these things are, sort of like a broad field. And so I think it's less about like my opinion of how it can be used in there and more of the understanding that the whole point of MindStudio is that anyone who's involved in finance, once they've watched an hour-long YouTube tutorial, can now look at all of the things that are doing related to finance and realize that there are all kinds of automations that could be created to help their process work better, or their team work better, a bunch of custom tools they can build for themselves to do it and do stuff like that. And as I mentioned, like right on our website, in sort of like one of the main areas, we've got some of these clusters that we've bubbled up from that. And you can see it's like expense management automation, wealth management automation, economic analysis, compliance monitoring, a bunch of scoring of risk management and things like that, eligibility assessment, financial planning and simulations, tax preparation analysis. There's a bunch of legal use of this already. Like, again, the legal space is prime for this. It's a lot of writing. It's a lot of understanding. AI can do all of those kinds of things. And so, again, we're kind of seeing this being used for any type of thing imaginable that a human would do in the past that required, again, sort of attention and intelligence. And now chances are that it can at least be augmented by AI, if not automated with AI.
Right. You're providing a plethora of tools for people to create, and it's based on people's needs, and you're kind of seeing what bubbles up to the top and people find most useful and are creating.
Totally.
Are there things that people are create that can be reused at other companies?
Yes. In fact, there's at least hundreds, maybe over 1,000 now, of businesses that have been built using MindStudio, where people have taken MindStudio and created AI applications and then put them behind a paywall and charge people to get access to these AI applications that have been built. One example is a website called academicinsightlab.org. Kimberly and Jessica have built over 80 AI applications for faculty, staff, and supervisors at universities to use to get their jobs done. And so there are over 80 AIs as a suite of AI tools for higher education institutions to use in their workflows. And they charge access to the suite of tools as a monthly SaaS. Super exciting business.
That's super exciting that people are like, you've increased the economy by so much by people finding work and providing value for other people with your tools, and you're just making the economy more productive. It's kind of crazy. In that situation where people create these tools and like put it behind a paywall, are they then, when somebody uses that, are they going through MindStudio? How do you get paid in that situation?
Yeah, so we charge for usage. And so in this case, Academic Insight Lab pays us metered usage, and their customers pay them monthly access. And could also pay metered usage. Like, they haven't implemented that. Theirs is like an all-you-can-eat. They pay metered usage to us. Others I know are working on metering the usage as well. And so they will be charging metered usage to their customers using their AIs.
So moving on to IT, I know a lot of no-code solutions, how MindStudio is going to be able to help in the IT and in coding.
Yeah, well, look, so AI as a whole is making a giant impact on software development, right? Helping developers build faster and helping junior developers sort of build at a higher level. So Microsoft, GitHub, Copilot, sort of many other now Copilots for coding that exist. We are a different type of sort of IT enablement, right? Where we enable business users in IT departments to build internal tools, which is what IT typically uses, or create dashboards or do analysis that they didn't have the resources to do before because there's just reams and reams of data. And somebody would need to go and like get all of this data and clean it and sort of look for patterns and run a bunch of SQL queries manually and all of that. All of that stuff can be automated. And so the AI proactively is sort of doing the job of a giant data science department. Again, on the website, I'll read some that we've got here. Incident response automation, documentation generation, automated compliance checks, predictive maintenance for hardware, disaster recovery planning, automated document processing, support, resource allocation optimization, data quality management, sentiment analysis, and then network process automation. These are all like clusters of things that IT departments we see in enterprises doing. But again, these are just a limited list. These are just the patterns we've seen and sort of bubbled up. The key is like AI is sort of like duct tape. When you learn to use duct tape, you realize that throughout your life, there's a constant need to like glue stuff together. And duct tape is this like magical thing that you can use to do it. That's what this is. This is like AI duct tape. Once you realize what it can do, you're like, oh, I can just like glue these together and I can make this thing into this new thing. And because you can do it so quickly, and it's actually sort of a creative process, right? Like it's like you're building things. It's the power that developers feel in like creating something out of nothing. Well, we're bringing that to many more users. And so like users report back to us as like, I love this. I love building AIs. Not it's powerful and I'm solving powerful problems, but like, I love solving powerful problems, right? And so I think that's sort of the real magic, I guess, of it, is that it can be used for anything. Customer service is another one that's on the website, but countless things.
Yeah. Customer service, I feel it's more easy to think out, and there's already so many kind of chatbots and things like that. And how do you quickly analyze this?
The common thing that people think about in customer service is that it's a customer service chatbot, and that's cool. But people are building all kinds of other things here that have nothing to do with being a chatbot. There might not even be chat. They're just things that run. You can build these headless AIs that can be called by other processes programmatically via API. And so humans don't see them. They're just running in the background. They're like back-end services. They can just be running and helping customer service do the work that they do, right? And that's not just talking to end users. It's like all the other things they need to do within the organization to do it. They generate a bunch of content. So you can sort of create automations for doing that. There's a bunch of sort of analysis that can be done about the efficiency of each customer service rep and how they're operating. The training for customer service reps, just like there's training for these other folks, like all of those kinds of things in customer service that have nothing to do with talking to a customer.
All of these like headless AIs and all these programs, are they being run on your cloud? Mm-hmm. So people create these applications and they don't need to like download them or like run them on their local device.
Yeah, they're all web apps. They're all cloud-based applications.
Who do you use as your cloud provider?
Primarily Amazon AWS. There's all the other cloud stuff, like we connect to all the popular models and other services. But yeah, primarily our infrastructure on AWS.
That was a great visual that you just said there about the AI duct tape and how like MindStudio is like the AI duct tape that you just kind of, you realize once you have it that it can be used in so many different ways to help your business and your life. And I think that'd be a great thing to actually make and like sell on your website is MindStudio duct tape.
I love it.
Yeah. And that's also some really good organic video content. Like, I don't know your social media presence, and I'm sure that's kind of like you've got somebody on marketing and managing these different accounts, but like you just get the MindStudio duct tape, you order that, custom make it. It's got MindStudio written on it. And then you just make like short videos like, and you see people putting the duct tape over something, the crack in the wall. And then you talk about your product. And I think that's AI duct tape.
Our YouTube channel now has over 11,000 subs that have shown up since September, and all organically. Again, sort of videos recently we've been posting are getting close to 10,000 views. Mostly the stuff we post is things that help people grok what they can use AI for and how they can build things with MindStudio and bubbling up best practices and things like that. Yeah, we don't do anything that feels even remotely sort of as fun as the thing you're describing. Ours are just like, here's how to use this product.
Well, I think that your strategy of being organic and just like the product speaks for itself and it's kind of word of mouth because it provides so much value for people, it's spreading. So you said there that September, can you just go a little bit about the origins of your company? I see that the domain's uai.ai. Did you have a rebranding moment or?
We did. Yeah. So it's even more complicated than that. So we are a 7.5-year-old venture-backed company. The company is called Go Meta Inc. The company had another product before this called Koji, which was a platform for web application development that became a major player in the creator economy space. And it was recently in January sold to a company called Linktree. People probably have heard of because it's giant and it's like link in bio space. And so Linktree bought Koji, which is an asset. And we, over the last year and a quarter, have been solely focused on building MindStudio. We thought we would spin MindStudio out as a new company, and we were going to call that company UAI, and then the product called MindStudio. But then we decided we're getting rid of UAI so soon. All of this UAI stuff is going to be dead. Think of us as MindStudio. We just confused everyone by our attempt to clarify things. So yeah, we refer to it as MindStudio.
So that's kind of
AI.
Yeah, MindStudio.ai. It kind of goes to the nature of this fast changing environment. So it sounds like a few pivots there. I mean, you have to pivot and you have to pivot quickly. Can you talk about that as a leader, how you go through moments like that?
Yeah, and meaning there are pivots and then there's, fine tuning of your vector, of your North Star. So like fine tuning of your North Star is just something that every organization should do as much as possible. It gets harder to do when you're a giant organization because it's like hard to turn craft carrier. But when you're small, that's your superpower, is the ability to sort of shift your team in the right direction. Yeah, so this isn't a pivot, really. This is just a completely new product, a year and a quarter old now, from this company that also built another product that it sold off to this other company. And so here we haven't really pivoted. Again, the UAI MindStudio thing is just a naming hiccup.
It's a new product that you've developed, but this must be the most successful product that you've developed under your company? I mean, or the other ones just kind of, their time went away, or?
Well, we sold them.
Okay. Well, yeah. That makes it nice. Yeah.
Yeah, this is certainly by far the most successful one.
What are your worries about, you're creating this very unique product, worries about competition, worries about people like just doing what you're doing that are a bigger company?
I'm blessed with, this is not a way that I generally think. So I never worry about competition. I think it's great to have people serving people. I and my co-founder, Sean, we love building things for other people to use. Like that makes us feel good when people rave about like, this thing has changed my life. Let me build a business or let me transform my organization. Like that's our fuel. We love it. And so the more people that do it, the better it is as far as I'm concerned. Like I want people to have this. We are a business. And so competition certainly plays a role. So far, we haven't seen any sort of direct competition here. Again, these like model providers are not our competitors. We use them. They are our partners. We provide a better offering than they do just naked as a model. You can't do all that much with a model. But when you put MindStudio over it and you can create these model orchestrations and these multi-step workflows, well, each one of those models becomes that much more valuable. So we make those models more valuable by being one level above. So they're not competitors. And then there's like a bunch of these vertical SaaS products that seems thousands of them that are out there, some for writing, some for marketing, some for sales, some for operations, whatever. Some might look at those as being competitors because an organization might say, well, I'll just cobble together a bunch of these like SaaS products and I don't want to build sort of refactor my workflows with this MindStudio thing. It might be easy to use, or I might even be able to hire an agency to do it, but I prefer to use all these different vertical SaaS. Sure, maybe, but like that doesn't really make sense to me. And if they want to do it, that's cool. At this moment, we sort of have clear path here, but I'm certain more competition is going to show up because this makes sense. And when they do, I think our superpowers, again, our ability to have vision and move quickly. We're already a brand. Again, we're 40,000 of these things and growing. And so they'd have a long way at this moment, I think, to catch up.
First of all, I think that's a great philosophy as the CEO, business owner, providing the value and seeing the benefit that your product or service is providing, that it gives you the drive to do more and it gives you the satisfaction. You have the developer, you have the people using it, and you have agencies being created around your product. You definitely have a big advantage being right out the door with this really cool product.
Are you a podcaster? Do you appreciate the power of AI to make your life more productive? Well, do I have the tool for you? Podcast AI is a company that streamlines all your post-production needs. It honestly saves me an hour or two of work every episode, and it gives me tons of ideas for marketing and social media posts. Go over to podcastai.com now to see for yourself.
You did mention your co-founder, Sean, and I do want to spend some time talking about him because I saw his wonderful, long, flowing blonde hair in the picture, and I'll put it on the screen. And I don't know, I'm just curious how you met and how do you make an effective partnership with Sean?
Before starting this company 7 years ago, I spent 4.25 years at Google. And when I was working at Google one day, a former colleague of mine pinged me as we were talking. He's like, hey, I just saw some college kid post on Hacker News, which is this like Y Combinator message board, that he's like been building some apps and is like looking for somebody to give him some advice on like what to do. And like, he's like, you're a nice guy. I thought maybe you want to see if you want to help him. And I'm like, I think I'm a nice guy. And so I reached out. I'd never used Hacker News before or since, and neither had he. He had only published that once, but we met there. So it's like a nerd dating site. He was 19 years old at the time. And so it's like almost a decade ago, because he's about to turn 30. So it's been a decade that we've been friends. And then we became friends and I started advising him. I actually tried to get him hired at Google a number of times, but because his degree was in literature with a minor in PR, I couldn't get him an interview. But I'm like, listen, I'm advising this kid. He's just extraordinarily talented as a developer, as an architect. And like, he should work at Google. I couldn't get him an interview. And anyway, long story short, after he graduated, he and his college roommate ended up moving into my garage and like lived here for a year and a half. My wife and I sort of adopted them. And then they were just like throwing stuff against the wall, code, apps, seeing what sticks. And I was still working at Google. And like over that time, I realized that Sean is by far the most talented software architect that I've ever encountered, which says a lot because, I spent 4.25 years at Google. I was the CTO of Myspace Music. I built these 2 other venture-backed companies. I've been doing software since 1984. And Sean is by far the most talented software developer I've ever encountered. And now we've been working together full-time for 7 years, but again, as friends and colleagues for over a decade. And it's a really unique relationship where even though I've got like all of this experience, he's radically, like infinitely more talented than I am technologically.
That's incredible. I would love to talk with him at some point too. It sounds like a fascinating story. So he's self-taught.
He's never taken a computer class in his life. By the way, he's good at everything. He's a Renaissance man. Like if you want to some people hate other people that are better than them. And so for those people, he would be like the ultimate person to hate. To your point, he's like tall, good looking, brilliant on all fronts.
Those people, man.
He reads books that stick in his spare time. Like he writes code like I've never seen anybody write code, but even more so, again, the architecture and the craftsmanship. And it's just, you can't get there from here. You either have it or you don't. No matter how much time one spends practicing something like that, I just don't think that level is reachable. But to him, it just comes naturally.
Is he married yet?
Nope. No.
That's amazing. I'd love to talk with him in the future. Your childhood, what did you want to be when you grew up? And tell us about a young Dmitry Shapiro.
I was born in 1969 in St. Petersburg in Russia. Grew up extraordinarily poor. We lived in a little room studio apartment as a family of 4. Didn't have an automobile or anything like that. 70s Russia, not a good place to be. And then in 1979, we moved to Atlanta, Georgia. And I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and lived there till I was 25 and went to high school and graduated from Georgia Tech with a degree in electrical engineering. Although I've never done a day of electrical engineering, I've always done software. And in 1984, when I was 14, I went to the movie theater with my dad and saw the movie War Games and with Matthew Broderick. He's a hacker. And I came home and I was like, oh my God, I got to get access to a computer. and like we couldn't afford a computer. And so, but our high school had a computer lab that had 2 Apple II computers. And so I was one of the 2 people in that computer lab for like the last 3 years of my high school, just hacking on stuff. And this is before there were even computer books, like in stores. If you went to stores, like there wasn't a computer section. Like I found this one book on BASIC in a library, had 186 pages. I checked it out, never returned it. And I kind of knew that book backwards and forwards. Like I could find the right page by feel of the thing I was looking for. And yeah, and started writing software and thought I'd study electrical engineering, sort of get deeper, but then realized like I don't like the deeper part. I like the software part. And that's what I've always done.
Amazing. First generation immigrant. Your family coming over here. That's great. Right before the wall came down, right? You guys came over.
Yeah. And so I was a Russian Jewish kid in the South during the Cold War.
Oh, wow. Get some thick skin there. Yeah. A little bit more meta here, thinking big picture. Everything's moving so fast, all this AI innovation. What's your biggest worry about all these changes that are happening with AI?
I think long term, AI is going to do profoundly amazing things for humanity, right? So let us solve all kinds of problems radically faster than we've ever been able to do it before. A lot of the reason, the primary reason we got the vaccines that we got during COVID is because of the computing power we have and the ability to just do modeling, right? And so synthetic biology and modeling at scale. So like you can do countless permutations and look for the right combinations of things. That's incredible. Sort of like in computer security, this is bad because you can do brute force attacks on passwords and try every password. But when you use the same kinds of techniques on trying to find the right types of solutions to chemical or biological or any kind of other problems, that's really, really powerful. Countless applications for any kind of industry, research, business, therapy, everything. In the near term, though, I think we are in a very precarious position because the capabilities of AI are already so powerful in its ability to generate content. And because we're all connected via social media, and because we rely on social media, for many people, it's their source of truth, right? They no longer watch ABC, CBS, NBC, or read Wall Street Journal or New York Times, and they wear it as a badge of honor that they don't. They get their news from their social feeds. And it's unfortunately, there's a lot of incentive for our adversaries, nation states, as well as sort of misalignment of people that are just trying to make a buck. And when you create salacious content and misinformation, that tends to get clicked on and you get some ad revenue. You get basically this pollution of our feeds with misinformation. And that can lead to catastrophic results, collapses of democracies, starting of wars, people's reputations being destroyed, people losing all their life savings, countless things you can think about. And all of that is happening now already. Like we are living in a battle zone of AIs online that are causing havoc. And we're entering an election season here, and we'll see what happens when we come out the other side. Hopefully we will survive.
Yeah, very good point there. And just social media it's where the discussion's being had. I mean, it's where everybody's like that. People don't talk about politics in the real world anymore, I feel. It's like all happens online or in like closed circles. Like it's just impolite to talk about politics, which is unfortunate.
And ultimately important because this is how truth dies. And democracies die is when you get neglected. For whatever reason, we don't feel comfortable discussing the hard things. We should not be in this position. It's shocking. The democracy hangs by a thread, and some kids that want to make a buck might be the ones that destroy it by accident because they're armed with AI.
Yeah, well, and not even just AI. It's just these perverse incentives on social media with the engagement and clickbaiting and knowing that good news might travel fast, but bad news travels faster and just outraging people.
But AI takes that and amplifies it, many orders of magnitude. So one person can only create so much content. One person plus AI can create a practically infinite amount of content.
Yeah, and do it quickly where before the truth is out there and it's all this rumors and happenstance. And with every technological change and revolution, there's good actors but then there's these bad actors that use it for malicious reasons, and it's trying to have the good for. I mean, just with the internet, I mean, there's still bad places you can go, but there's been a lot of work in pushing that stuff aside and getting the regulations around it and everything. And I think that's going to be something with AI too. I think regulations, you can't move fast enough to regulate this industry almost, but you have to focus on the good parts and the things that are happening, and then the good will outshine the bad.
Let's certainly hope so.
Yes. Dmitry, where in 5 years, if we talk again, where is MindStudio?
It's hard to say because the things underneath MindStudio will continue to get more and more powerful. And the things underneath is the infrastructure layer, like all of the GPUs and other hardware that's like making signal collection and processing and horsepower sort of there. The layer on top of that, which is, we call it the intelligence layer, where all the models sit, that layer is evolving extraordinarily rapidly. For example, everybody's excited about large language models, but for most use cases, they're the wrong tool to use. Small models are actually better. They're faster, cheaper, can be tuned and fine-tuned and retrained and all of that. And large language models just are prohibitive from doing that. And with MindStudio, you can use a bunch of these smaller ones and put them together in sort of like Lego blocks, and they can perform better than any large language model on its own. But all of that is going to change. And again, in today's world, like so much innovation happens in a week. 5 years seems like you asking me of like what's going to happen in a million years. I'm not exactly sure. But I can tell you our approach to AI is to be that next level up above all of this innovation. And whatever this thing facilitates, we want to allow anybody to be able to leverage it. So we are the applied AI part of AI. They are the infrastructure and the intelligence. We are the applied part. What can you do with it? What can you do with all this power? And so it just depends on what the power is and what people need out there, what businesses need out there. MindStudio might look, quite different from what it is today, but generally, I think around the same thing. It's an enablement technology. It's the application layer.
Yeah, and I remember in your speech, when a new model comes out, it's available on MindStudio 15 minutes later.
Yeah, by the way, I wasn't kidding about that. Like, that's the only fun we have around here, is we like to blow people's minds that when a new model gets announced, we go and like prioritize that now. Whatever's happening, let's get this model running. And 15 minutes later, we announce on LinkedIn typically, or certainly in our Discord, hey, this model is now available. Claude Opus is available less than 15 minutes after it launches, and you can use it and in your workflows,
Wow. So ChatGPT Turbo, is that available?
Yeah, 4 Turbo is available within 15 minutes after launch.
Amazing. Well, Dmitry, fascinating conversation. I'm really glad we did this. I'd love to do an update episode maybe 6 months from now. And like you said, 5 years, it's really hard to think, but 6 months, I'm sure there'll be tons of progress even in that time.
And yeah, I think there's, again, from what I'm seeing, this like acceleration, all of these agencies that are starting to do it. 6 months from now, it sounds like it's going to be crazy.
Very excited for the company. I can't wait to get my hands in there too, and hope to automate some of my media business operations. And thank you, Dmitry.
Yeah, so good to chat with you. Thanks for having me.